Hello, everybody.
You have to hold it to your mouth, though.
Hold this to my mouth.
Now.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon. Okay, in 2006, We Are Not Your Soldiers sort of started informally as part of World Count Weight, doing high school visits, mostly on the West Coast. And then in 2008, there was a national meeting of World Count Weight where there were veterans attending, and they spoke about how uncomfortable they felt when people would thank them for their service, and then started to talk even more about going out into schools. And that's when it was formally started, We Are Not Your Soldiers, as a project of World Count Weight. So the first, we call them tours, were on the West Coast, Southern California and the Seattle areas. And then later, another tour went around the Midwest, and they were also doing tabling at the Warped Tours and Coachella. Over the years, we've moved around the country more. We're currently based in New York City. But we do visits in other places as well. In New York City, generally, we do in-person visits. If we're invited to other locations, they're generally remote, or by Zoom or some other program, or from time to time, we may get a request where one of our presenters lives in another part of the country, and then it's in person there. I've been coordinator since 2012. I have been working in the World Count Weight National Office and had seen what was happening with the We Are Not Your Soldiers tours. And as it was time for someone else to start coordinating, I thought, since I've had many years, I've been a teacher my whole life until I retired, and that it would be a good connection to have that connection with the school system and knowing teachers and what happens in the schools. So I've been doing it since then and reaching out to other educators. At the moment, we have 13 presenters that range from Vietnam era to the War on Terror, supposedly. Each of them has their unique way of presenting. Some show a slideshow, some show video clips, some use music, some go straight into their story, etc. They all sound and do their thing differently, but and they speak about their personal experiences. Their personal stories really relate to the students, and it makes it very personal. It makes a connection there. So there's a lot of difference in their stories, but there's also a lot that's similar in that they're all anti-war. They've all had some pretty dreadful experiences, and they're all anti-imperialist. It's, we do counter recruitment, but truthfully, in every class up till now, and it may change when it's the whole draft system gets reorganized, but it's only a small percentage that go into the military or that are considering going into the military, but it's also very educational for everyone else, because not that many people in this country, let alone students, know what the United States is doing around the world. And this is a way for them to find out and often be quite shocked by it. As things get more crisis-oriented in this country under Trump administration and fascism, there's more questioning than usual coming from the students. People are more upset. If you'd like to see over the years how students react to the visits, you can go to our website wearenotyoursoldiers.org, and we have 3 pages there that I suggest you look at. One is called Students Speak Out. If we get short comments from students, short notes from them, or we do an evaluation form usually after each visit, we'll put some of that up on our website so you can see what students are saying. We have another one that's called Excerpts from Student Papers. Some of the classes, particularly in the colleges, have their students write papers, and so we reprint excerpts from those papers, which are very interesting to read. And then we have comments from educators after the visits, thanking us and their comments. We don't have everything, but it'll give you a good sense of reactions to the talks. You may notice that we rarely say the names of the schools that we go to or the names of the educators, and we usually don't show pictures of the students. We don't want to cause any problems for anybody, and it's worked out well that way, and so that's how we plan to continue. From time to time, we get a request that people want the name of their school up there, or they want to be shown in a video or an audio, and then we do it, but generally not. Just to give you a sense of what we've accomplished for this school year, we went to 60 classes and 2 student clubs. And we went to 2 middle schools. We don't go to many middle schools, and we certainly don't go to elementary schools, but we went to 2 middle schools, 1 private and 1 public, both in New York City, and those were very well prepared students, very intelligent questions, really basically on the same level as high school and college students. We visited 8 high schools, 1 in rural Oregon, 1 in Philadelphia, and the rest in New York City. One of those New York City high schools was a Catholic parochial school, and the others were all public schools. We had deep discussions in 4 community colleges, 1 in North Carolina and the rest in New York City. And also we went to 6 colleges, 1 on Long Island and the rest in New York City. 2 of those were private and the rest were public. Okay, so rather than talking more about what we do, we're going to show some clips from the presentations of the veterans so you see what they're doing. Okay, we'll start out with one which is a compilation of short clips from several veterans, and then we'll do another one of compilation, and then we'll do some short segments from other people. If you have any questions after each clip, they're going to be short. The compilations are about 5 minutes. The others will do like a 3-minute clip. Just ask your questions in between the videos.
We Are Not Your Soldiers connects veterans to high school and college students, sharing stories from Vietnam to Iraq, Afghanistan, and more, all affected by their experience in the U.S. military, whether in war or at home. These veterans' individual stories and experiences share many themes, some of which are the lies told to them while in service, the horrors they witnessed or maybe participated in, or opposing U.S. foreign policy entirely. Students are exposed to the true military experience by listening, speaking with, asking, or even debating with our veteran speakers, all in an environment where everyone treats each other with respect. Invite We Are Not Your Soldiers to your school so more students can hear more veterans speak about the actual military experience from person to person.
Up until that point in my life, I never had cause to hate anybody, to hurt anyone else. I never experienced something that would condone a reason to go to war, to occupy. But this event was seen as our generation's Pearl Harbor. And people at that time treated it as a kind of wake-up call, a call to arms. We need to do this. thing for our country. But the thing that we did talk about is what we were actually going to do, any kind of limits to what President Bush began during that time.
It was a pretty dehumanizing experience. So a lot of people may think, oh, as long as I join the military and don't go to war, I'll be fine. Now that's another myth. If you ask anybody who's ever joined, you can ask an 88-year-old person and ask them about their basic training experience. I guarantee you they will remember everything about it. Why would they remember such, 10 weeks of their lives at 88 years old? Well, it's a very traumatizing experience to go through just basic training. They break you down psychologically and they build you up into a soldier. And being a soldier means to stop thinking critically and to just obey the orders.
Also, taking a life. We didn't refer to them as insurgents or terrorists. We call them hajis. We call them towelheads. Call them sand N-word. Like these are the terms that a lot of us used. Basically being racist openly. Obviously, you can't do it out in public, but closed doors and stuff, people would have this rhetoric.
During the middle of the tour, I can tell you that one of the things I saw coming through that base was the billions of dollars in tanks and planes and all this equipment. But I would go off the base and go downtown into the capital city of Saigon and see people starving on the streets. The Vietnamese people were starving. So I would say, it occurred to me, this isn't about helping the people. There's something else going on here. And I left my time in Vietnam confused, angry, alienated.
And at that same moment, really, I had to go through this, whatever, paperwork, blah, blah, blah. I found out the secret. And the secret is that even if you volunteer in today's modern military where there's no draft, you can apply to be a conscientious objector if your beliefs change between you having volunteered for the military somewhere along the line, and then your beliefs change. You can, it's kind of like, it's basically the same process as in Vietnam. You have to prove it.
Because they figured out that people instinctively, most people, have a hard time if given the opportunity to kill someone else. There's all sorts of inconvenient thoughts that come to the surface in moments like that. You might ask yourself, I wonder what this person's name is. I wonder where they come from. I wonder how old they are. I wonder if they have any loved ones, any family members, any friends, any partners in their lives. I wonder if they have any hobbies. Maybe they even have some hobbies like I have hobbies. Maybe they have some kinds of dreams for their life like I have dreams for my life. Maybe they have some of the same fears and anxieties that I might have. These are the types of human questions that most of us, especially in moments like that, naturally gravitate toward. And the point of this training was to avoid those types of thoughts coming to the surface.
We're going to see another group of short clips. But does anyone have any questions or comments about this?
I just thought it was great. I thought it was great.
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
A lot of what you're seeing are the ones that are on Zoom because it's easier to film. Deborah always tells me, make sure you take video. Oh, I said, a lot of what you see are from presentations on Zoom because it's really easy to record that. Deborah always tells me, make sure you take video while you're there. And sometimes it just gets too busy and I don't. So unfortunately, there are not as many, but you'll see them as we go through. There are some more that are from directly in the classroom. So we could go to the next one, the updated one.
How can you pull a trigger and end another human's life? I don't think you grow up having that be natural. You have to kind of be conditioned to do that.
you talk a little bit more, following up on that excellent question, like I know you weren't in a combat unit, but the dehumanizing techniques you saw that would allow people to be able to kill other human beings. I mean, the Israeli army calls itself the world's most moral army, for example, which was reminded me of that. So what were some of these? And I understand exactly what you're saying. And that's, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're saying don't go in the military because once you're in, you're part of the machine, right? Then it's very hard to stand out. But what kind of dehumanizing? I mean,
yeah, like the United States military is the biggest gang in the world, and they literally told us that. What I mean by gang is like there's a fraternity where, you always hear in movies, and they even say this in the actual military. Well, I'm just over there looking after my brothers. So, we got each other's back. That is dehumanizing in the sense that like you are allowing yourself to ostensibly care about other human beings. You got their back, but then you're using that as a pretext to carry out, horrible acts of violence.
I'm glad that you asked that, because I mean, that's part of why I do what I do as my professional, quote unquote, professional life. I say professional because the VA has rated me unemployable. And part of that is because of severe PTSD, but we have this term for that kind of guilt that you're referring to, and we call it moral injury, where it's I didn't kill anybody, but I definitely mind fucked people. I was part of killing people's questions, maybe. I was maybe part of killing people's motivation to find out what was really going on. And so that's why now, I am compelled to talk shit. I literally can't stop. If I stop, I feel what is the point? And I know that that's also as part of my damage in a way. I can't just go be a civilian. I will feel like I'm not doing enough because of all the damage I did. But I also try not to let it rule me.
I'll be honest, this is it's a little selfish, but this is my therapy. You guys are complete strangers, but it's it helps to just release some of that some of the stuff that we all keep bottled up, because we're told to bottle this up, right? But learning to do it, to just release it is a very hard process, because it's the machine, so to speak, that is the military. It works really hard to make you into what they want you to be, and breaking all that is extremely difficult. That's why, a lot of people they're lost, when they get out. They just, it's all the homeless you see on the streets and stuff. It's 40% of those on any given night are vets of some war because the system failed them.
Because I find it most helpful to talk about the politics, talk about the morality of what we were involved in. And I think so much of the psychology profession in recent decades, unfortunately, has moved in the opposite direction, where it's a value-free space, a politics-free space. A lot of it is reliant on medical treatments, so treating symptoms, opposed to really dealing with the moral and political causes of all this.
if you look at the Winter Soldier film, and you see, that was one, we organized that in order to tell people the truth, not to make ourselves heal better, but the actual result of it was that the veterans who came back and told the brutal truth have actually survived better and been in better health because they're facing up to their responsibilities, but also seeing that we weren't born this way. We were trained to be this way. And that means you can change your thinking. You can change the way you've been programmed, the way you've been brainwashed. And you can say, you know what? That's not me. And you change your thinking and you open up to people. And that to me is the healthiest way. They are going to come back to Israel and try to fit back into that society and have tremendous problems once they realize among a section of them. Some of them won't change, some of them will just be stone cold. But for a whole other bunch, they're gonna have enormous social problems in their own families as they come to grips with what they actually did to the Palestinian people.
Any comments or questions on that? And then we'll show, I think, 3 or 4 short, really
Maybe
short.
just 2 of them. Why don't you pick the 2 that are the most?
Okay.
We have Ross Caputo, we have Will Griffin, Henri, and Shaniat.
Okay, maybe we'll do Ross and Shania because the other 2 we've seen in the other videos.
Yeah, okay, so, back here.
Now, years later, as a research student, I could, point some things out to you about that you probably haven't considered, things that might have, if I had known it then, might have given me pause about what we were doing. But in some sense, it didn't really matter, because
Oh, I'm sorry, you
I
told,
believed a lot of
I
the
started
things
this
that
at the
you
end of
wrote
what you
that,
said.
Okay,
for
sorry,
free.
could you go?
I misread your
All right.
2 marks.
Can you
So
start at the part?
From the beginning,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry about that. I started it at your
I'm
outing.
from a small working class town in central Massachusetts called Fitchburg. My dad owned a bar. A lot of people in my family have like landscaping companies. Fitchburg is that kind of town, like there's a lot of like construction work, building homes, maintaining homes, things like that. I did landscaping, every summer through high school, so I was pretty sure I was just gonna be a landscaper. And that was fine with me, I liked doing that work. At the time, I loved my hometown. My relationship with my hometown has changed a little bit since. But, what the military offered me at that time was just like, I could just go have some adventures before I settled down, started a landscaping company, and then for the rest of my life, kind of, spent my life in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. So as an 18-year-old kid, there was, a war that was just starting. And to me, like, it was an opportunity. I didn't see it as like, a duty that I had to defend my country. Like, yes, it was those things, but like at 18 years old, the things that were like prominent in my mind was like going off, having this adventure, and then coming back and getting the esteem that veterans get. We have a particular culture about the military here in the United States, and you might not even be aware of it unless you've like traveled and lived in other places. I've spent a few years, I have family in Italy, I've spent a few years up there. Different culture with regard to the military. Like, it's not like something special to be a soldier over there. People don't bend over backwards to like, buy you a beer any chance they get or shake your hand or anything like that. It's just like, just an ordinary job. But here, if you're a veteran, you are automatically
thought of as a hero. And the strange part of that is, it doesn't even matter what the war is about, whether it's a just war or unjust war. If you're a veteran, you are considered a hero, and people will thank you for your service. And, you know, that's the treatment that I wanted. I wanted to come back, you know, from my military experience, start my life in my hometown, and just, you know, men would respect me, women would like me, you know, I'd get free beers anytime I walked into a bar, people, you know, shake my hand every time I walked down the street. It was that kind of regard and esteem that I was ultimately looking for. Now, I was probably, I think, a sophomore or a junior at the time of the attacks of 9/11, so I knew we were entering into this major new global war. I was in high school, I gotta be honest, I wasn't paying really close attention to the news. I didn't understand all the justifications for why we were doing what we were doing. Like, there was some vague connection with the attackers in Afghanistan. So we started a war with Afghanistan. That didn't seem strange to me at the time. Now, you know, years later, as a research student, I could, you know, point some things out to you about that you probably haven't considered, you know, things that might have, if I had known it then, might have given me pause about what we were doing.
I think that's,
Okay. Yeah, this was to give you a sense of how people tell their stories of how and why they go in and why they're doing this now so that, and why they're doing this now so that others don't go in with the naivete and the innocence that these people, because all of them, except for one of our speakers, enlisted. Yes, Tara.
Ross was a Marine in Fallujah, and I knew him when he got out. And here he's much calmer. You know, he's come to grips with a lot of stuff. And when he first got out, he was a mess. He was angry, really. I mean, didn't know what to do. Wanted to do something about it. Didn't know, wasn't sure what to do. Maybe going to make a movie about it or something.
He did.
He did, I know.
Yes.
But it's nice to see him here because he's mature, he's come to grips with a lot of stuff, and he's sharing all of it. I mean, I watched the rest of this on my own, and it's quite good. It's quite
Yeah.
good. And
And
I
then
think he's really
other
giving
part-
something to the students to think about.
Yeah, he talks a lot about Fallujah in great
Yeah.
depth, but I thought it was interesting to see how he got there.
Yeah.
What's the name of that movie? I'm sorry, movie. The name of that clip? Because I know we don't have time to watch it
It's
now.
Ross Caputi. On our website, wearenotyoursoldiers.org, we have a page, audios and videos, and it's near the bottom of the page, they're chronological.
Okay, thank you.
turn around and tell me where to find the audio, which box it is.
Oh. Over here, videos and audio.
Okay, so that's where you'll find it on their website,
Right.
wearenotyoursoldiers.org. So, are we ready for this one?
Yep.
I was at Afghanistan in 2012, and I met this young boy. This memory sticks with me because I met this young boy who was 14 years old. Well, he's your age. Like, it looks like he was 40 years old because of the vest that Will had on him. He lost his older brother. He told me that his older brother was still by there in soldier. You know, and now because his older brother was dead and their father had passed away, he was responsible for his family. And how can he do anything when we Americans, we went into Afghanistan? This is, by the way, I went 2024, it's not 2021. 10 years later, we go in there to like clean up the mess. We're moving weapons out. We're trying to leave, use transition out, but the damage is already done. And we were able to move on, but how can they when they lost everything? They lost their friends, their family, they lost their job, everything's very expensive, and they couldn't do anything about it. So him and I had a conversation and about how he wasn't mad at me, but he wanted me to understand my involvement in the military and what the impact it has on people like him, because their lives for them have changed forever. learn mistakes from others. And we can move on, but they can't. And the wars, right, there's like, you guys know how many people were killed in wars in Afghanistan and Iraq the last 20 years? Yeah. Yeah, over a million. That's over the course of 20 years. In Iraq, Afghanistan, more than 1 million people were killed. And then when you take into account what's involving in other parts of the world, throughout history, thousands of people have been killed at a high cost, right? So when I had this conversation with this young boy, I realized that something was, I had to really reflect on myself, because there was a sense of like understanding where there's someone who was also Muslim. We come from 2 different countries, but we grew up very similarly. I grew up poor, I didn't know what I wanted to do, I was struggling, but the system kind of pulled me into the system to be a part of this, to kill others, and then they were also being affected, because now I'm meeting someone who's just as young as I am, but he grew up very similarly. So we both were being used, so when I got that, went back to college, and I spoke with other people who served in the military, and we were talking about how something was missing. Like, how can we continue to fight for a country or the military, knowing what's happening, knowing that peace was never really brought to these countries, right? Peace was never really brought to these countries.
Right. So, does anyone have any other questions or comments? Yes, Nick?
How many years have you been working with most of these people, and have you seen their lives change since you first met them up until now? And if so, how?
Well, I've been doing this since 2012. The program started 2006 and formally 2008 formally. Some of the speakers have been there throughout the time that I've been there. Joe, John, and then others have been come in later. I don't know, Deborah. Yes.
Well, we lost 2 to suicide for one thing. 2 of the speakers of about 20, that's 10%.
Wow.
And everyone, including the Vietnam veterans, report difficulties all through their lives in recovering. And then even with that, some have made really important careers and contributions, not just, well, in the anti-war movement and in the cause of stopping war and against recruitment, but also in other endeavors. Lyle is in a PhD program in history, I believe. Shaniat is becoming a professional journalist. So people are persevering, but I think Joe's point that it's really only the people who have honestly confronted what happened in these illegitimate, unjust, immoral occupations have a chance of good recovery. And as we found out, even the ones that do are not secure in being able to stay alive. It's been really interesting.
Any IDF approached, any Israeli soldiers approached?
No.
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 Stephanie, can you talk a little bit about how you make contacts with people in schools? What has worked best for the program?
Okay. Well, we have a lot of repeat visits, and so when I said how many schools we went to and then how many classes, sometimes we'll go back for both semesters, or we'll go to several teachers in the same school. So, people tend to recommend us to colleagues, and so that's one way that we go from school to school. So that's an important way. I try to go to conferences and meet people that way, like in New York City, there's a NICOR conference, or whatever they don't call a conference, whatever they have, once a year, New York Coalition of Radical Educators, so I meet people there and put them on my list. There are other things, listservs that I put information about for, educators. If I meet any teachers, professors, I will tell them about the program and ask them to invite us. That's another way. We had from Peace Action, we had Barbara Walker in Staten Island. This is highly unusual and nobody else has replaced Barbara. She's moved from Staten Island, unfortunately. But she went, and Staten Island is the most difficult borough of New York City, but she went from school to school in person and spoke to administrators and got them to invite us to their schools. So that was another way, but that's an unusual way. We're on Facebook, Instagram also. Yeah.
Just following up on that, did you ever have any problems, let's say with the Staten Island schools, as a result, like, somebody said, oh, you can't do that here and stuff like that, and how do you handle that kind of thing when it happens?
In New York City, there was a problem once in Chicago, but in New York City, the only problem we ever had was once in Staten Island, where it turned out that there was a new principal and there were parents who wanted to get rid of that new principal, and we visited right in the middle of that, not knowing that. And one of the students, we put our information up on the board and we said who we were, but we gave out brochures from War Resisters League. So the student brought home the War Resisters League brochure, and War Resisters League got blamed for it, unfortunately.
When was that?
Oh, it was quite a few years ago.
Got blamed
Maybe
for
about
it.
10, maybe 10 years prior to COVID. But maybe 8 years.
I don't remember that. I've been on the WRO board for a long time. I don't remember that, but okay.
But anyway, so we were never invited back to that school. But we went to other schools.
You have to tell me which school it is, because I think if it's the one, they've got a new good principal there. We should try it.
Okay.
I heard.
Yeah. Try it again.
Well, and in Washington, D.C., unfortunately, he's dead now, but I went into a lot of schools over time. There was a wonderful Vietnam draft counselor named John Judge, who spent the rest of his life getting to know every school and their administrators and kept us having access, and I did a lot of that. He's dead now, unfortunately, and nobody else took his place. But he did great work while he could. Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you and World Can't Wait for the persistent, because a program like this takes somebody like you and the network that you created to focus on it. It's a lot of work doing all of these connections. I kind of know from our student organizing program, you have to have a focus. And we're, right now, life is such that it's really hard to have a focus. And I'm so grateful that you've kept this focus.
Yeah, it's really important. We have to keep up the connection constantly with these educators.